Hey there, Ashley. So the video here is going to be looking at rounding decimals, and that's actually from exercise 3F from your textbook. So you can go back to 3F and have a look at some of these questions here, but I'm going to do pretty much all of these and just to show you that vibe of how do you round decimals, okay? So for A, we have right now 0.76581. It's too long to write all those digits, so we want to round it off, meaning make it shorter. So here it says that the specified number of decimal places is shown in the brackets. So you can see here, round of 1 decimal, round of 4, round of 3, round of 2. All right, round of 0, round of 2. Let's do A. A says you want to round it to 3 decimal places. So this is where the decimal point is. So 3 decimal places would mean 1, 2, 3. Those are the 3 that we want to keep. We only want this section here. So usually we can just write 0.765, right? But what we're interested in is to know, see this 765, is it actually more closer to 765 or is it closer to the next number, which is 766? Okay? Because when you're rounding it off, sometimes say it's like 9:59. Yes, you're in the 9 o'clock, but if I asked you, is that closer to 10 or is it closer to 9? This next bit determines for us whether it's going to be closer to 10 or closer to 9. So same thing with numbers. Numbers has the same idea. You see, we got 765, that's 765 thousandths. We just don't know if it's actually closer to this number or whether it's 766 thousandths. That's essentially what you're asking. So in that decimal place, the way to know is you then look at the next digit. Okay, because that's outside of the box, right? That's going to determine, that's the next largest number after this place value here. That's the next largest number. So that's how you check whether it's going to be closer to 766 or whether it's closer to 765. So here, I'm only interested in that, sorry, I just rubbed off that one. But we're only interested in this first 3 digits because it says 3 decimal places. But you look at this number here. If that's more than halfway to getting to 766, then we round it to 766. So if you think about it, right now you got 765 and the next number is 766, right? And we know that in between, how many digits would you have? You have, this is at 765.0. This is 766.0. So in between, this must be 0.1, then 0.2, then 0.3, and then 0.4, right? So when you say that this is technically 765.8 there, where is 0.8? See, 0.8 is closer to the 766. That's why we normally say in mathematics, we say if it's 5 or more, round up. Okay, and the reason why is because 5 or more, 5 would mean it's at 0.5. That's halfway already. So once you've reached halfway, well, you're much closer to the next digit. It's kind of like the timing in a clock. If I said it's 6:30, all right, 6:30 would already imply that you're closer to the 7 p.m. than you are to the 6 p.m. Does that make sense? Okay, so this was a bit of an explanation. I could have just gone and told you to look at the next digit, but I want you to understand why we look at the next digit. Okay, because we're essentially looking at the next position and we're trying to figure out, is it closer to the 765 or the 766? That's the idea. And we do that by looking at that decimal, the next decimal place. That next one is over here. That one essentially makes the difference between 765 and 766. Because in between, it's like 0.8 and then 0.9. And then finally, when you go to 0.10, if that place value was a 10, that then carries on to the next one. That's why. Okay? So answering this question here, just to make it shorter so that it all makes sense and I'm not blabbering on, that should have been rounded because that's 5 or more. That's why I'm going to have to round this to 766. Okay? So now I'm going to do the other questions faster so that you have a better idea of what I'm saying. So here we go. I'm going to do the same thing. B. Let's write down B. B is 9.4582. I want to round it to 1 decimal place. So 1 decimal place is over here. So this is the decimal. So 1 decimal place is this one. That's the first one after the decimal point. So that's all I want. Normally, I would write my answer as 9.4, but what I'm unsure is this 0.4, is it closer to 9.4 or is it closer to 9.5? You see, because all those other digits make a difference. And so now I look at the next digit, which is that one, and that's 5 or more, so that means I round this digit up because I'm essentially saying it's closer to 9.5. Okay, so the answer should be 9.5. Moving on to C. So I'm doing it a bit faster now, even faster than before. So 6.9701. They want us to, again, round to 1 decimal place. So this is my 1 decimal place. This is what I would normally write my answer. But I need to check, is this digit, okay, the one that determines whether it's closer or not, is it 5 or more? And it is. It's 5 or more. So that means I'm going to round this one closer to the next one. Now 6.9, what's the next closest digit? That's 7.0. So you can see that by increasing the 9, that becomes 10, carry the 1, so that becomes 7.0. So your answer is actually 7.0. And yes, you should write the 0.0 because it said to round to 1 decimal place. If you just wrote 7, there is no 1 decimal place. Okay, so you have to write the 7.0. All right, let's go to D. If we were to do D, same thing, 21.513426. We want 4 decimal places. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means this is the section I'm looking for. And then, that doesn't look like a 5. I'm going to fix that. That's a 5. And so what do? You check the next digit. If that's 5 or more, then you'd increase this one. So right now I've got 21.5134. What I'm not sure is it closer, 5134 closer to this, or is it closer to 5135? That's what I'm asking, okay? But we can see that 2 is less than 5, so you don't need to change it. It's actually closer to 5134, so I leave my answer as is. Let's do one that might look a bit different. So F is different. F has a 0, so 17.26. What does that mean? When they say round to the nearest, to 0 decimal places, well, this is where the decimal place is. This is the first decimal place. So that means if I don't want any decimal place or 0, that means round it to the nearest whole number. See what I mean? So rounding it to the nearest whole number, 17.26. Is 17.26 closer to 17 or is it closer to 18? Because the nearest whole number without any decimals, these are the only 2. So 17.26 clearly is closer to 17. Or another way of knowing is by checking this digit here, you can see that this is not 5 or more. You see, if I actually ask students 17.26, I said, is it closer to 17 or closer to 18? Most students can figure this one out without even actually looking at this digit using a rule, because they can see that 17.26, they know 0.26 is on a scale much closer to 17. That's the same idea, it's just that when it comes into other numbers like round to 1 decimal place or round to 2 decimal places, students find it harder to understand. It's the same intuitive sense that we're doing. So 17.26 is actually just closer to 17. So you can just write your answer 17. Notice I didn't do 0.0 because we don't want any decimal places. Okay. So hopefully at this point you're starting to feel quite confident. Have a look at H, so 8.10552. Rounding to 3 decimal places. I want you to have a go first. Okay, you can pause the video and have a think. What would your answer be? Because then now I will tell you the answer. The answer is, again, 3 decimal places. So this is 1, 2, 3. So all I want is just this section. So my answer could be 8.105, but I need to check the next digit. And since it's a 5, that means this one is closer to 8.106. Okay, that is my correct answer, and not that. Cool. All right, so that's how you do that. Have a go with the other questions. You can have these ones where they say correct to 2 decimal places. hopefully you'll get to the point where you can just look at it and say, well, that's 17.01, 2 decimal places, because I'm just looking at this section here. Okay, so 2 decimal places, only that and that. So this is my 2 decimal places. This is my 2 decimal places. This is my 2 decimal places. Okay, so if I were to answer it, it's 5.20 because the 9 becomes a 10. You carry the 1, so it becomes 2. This one, same thing. The 6 increases the 9 to 10, and then this increases it to 10. So you carry it, it becomes 79.00. So these were slightly trickier. Okay, but that's what I want you to practice. See if you can become a master at rounding decimals. That's exercise 3F from your textbook. Okay.